The Ford Model E Chief Operating Officer, or COO, or COO, says we don't have a future if EV market lost to Chinese automakers. And we are currently in a race against Chinese EV auto manufacturers who are planning on bringing production to Mexico and I'm trying to remember the other country. It's Mexico and another country to produce for the US market. Pretty soon we're going to have Chinese cars rolling around here. Now, I have my thoughts and opinions on the future of Ford, which would lead me to want to invest, but more so in options trading than buying and holding, if that makes any sense. Well, I want to run through this Detroit News article with you guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. My name is Kevin, Kevin, in all caps, youtube.com/ at Kevin247. Thanks for watching. Please smash the like button, subscribe. Let me know if you drive a Ford or an EV or a Ford EV, or would you ever? And what you think about the future of EVs in America, as well as the future of Ford's Model E EV lineup. So it says here in this article that was released yesterday, the chief operating officer of Ford Motor Company's electric vehicle division said the development of EVs is more than just about environmental concerns. It's a hedge against the potential threat of Chinese automakers in the United States. That's coming here eventually, according to Marin Jaja, Ford Model E's COO, for which they said during a panel on disruptive technology held by the automaker. And I quote, "So we better get fit now and better get going on EVs or we don't have a future." I don't know if that's motivating and encouraging or dooming and gloomy for Ford, saying you better hurry up or else China is going to take over. Who would have ever thought that China could potentially be the automotive auto manufacturer that could wipe out Henry Ford? Crazy. I guess, every company has its cycle. We were watching this movie. I think it was a movie with Samuel Jackson and the guy who played Falcon from the Avengers, about the banks. And in this movie, it was, it's like era specific. It was retro, it was vintage. But the brands included in the movie were from that time frame. And one of the brands was Studebaker as the auto manufacturer, which they are no more, or at least not to any real capacity that would produce vehicles you see on the road. And there's an evolution, there's a cycle. They come and they go. Another that comes to mind more recent is Fisker, which apparently Fisker is working on some new offering. I'm trying to think there's another one. But they come and they go. Some last longer than others. So maybe there is a potential reality where Ford is no more. If that were to happen, though, that'd be devastating. And the Chinese manufacturers are not bringing jobs to the U.S. They're only bringing the cars. So anybody who worked for Ford in the U.S. would be screwed. And if there was possibly an opportunity to work for a Chinese manufacturer, odds are they would not be union-based. But the Chinese automakers are dominating their domestic market, making inroads in Europe and setting up shop in Mexico with eyes on the United States. They led the way in introducing less expensive EV battery chemistries, and subsidized material prices have helped them to provide low-priced vehicles. The BYD Seagull EV city car starts at roughly $11,000. Look, gotta tell you guys, would I want a Chinese car? Not really. Do I have a Chinese car? Kind of, sort of, probably. I mean, Chinese components are a large part of pretty much everything. But I can guarantee you that if there's the opportunity, if there's the ability, if there's an offering of a brand new car for $11,000, a lot of people are going to buy them. They're going to buy them. 11 grand. The amount of people I see riding around on electric scooters or bicycles that they ordered off of Amazon or Temu or Alibaba or AliExpress or wherever they got them from. I can see people scooping up a car for 11 grand, especially when the average new car price here in America is like $40,000 for a base model anything. You just got to realize that your car is built by a Chinese-based company, maybe even by child labor. But we'll talk about that later. Now, it says here that I don't know exactly the timing, but I think they're going to end up here. And this is what the chief operating officer said. Just as the Japanese ended up here, the Koreans ended up here, the Germans ended up here, it's a big market. Traditional automakers have seen their share of the Chinese luxury market fall from 60% to less than 5%. It's not that they haven't tried to introduce EVs, they're just that far behind. That's the scale of the disruption. EVs in China represent nearly a quarter of its new car market, close to 7 million vehicles. About 60% of EVs in the world. The United States' adoption is less than 8%. The size of the market in China is so big that those players are going to be in a position to go potentially and dominate the world unless we, as Ford and other OEMs, can respond. Think about all the capital, the human capital, physical capital, financial capital that's built into these ecosystems to build vehicles. And that is all being massively disrupted because this technology is progressing so fast. This technology is progressing so fast, which is actually really, really odd. Because I'm thinking back on technology that I was very excited for, which was Blu-ray. And I remember when Blu-ray rolled out, there were more Blu-ray players than there were Blu-ray movie offerings. You had to wait until Blu-ray was available in the movie you wanted, whereas you could have bought a Blu-ray player. But why did we have such a shift? Why are we now making all the Blu-ray movies instead of making the Blu-ray players? Because it almost seems like we're making a shitload of EV cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, boats, but we're not making or providing or offering or creating a solution for the charging stations for these EVs. Ford understands this, and it's partnered with Chinese battery maker Contemporary Amperex Technology to license its technology to make those lower cost batteries with lithium ion phosphate chemistry in South Central Michigan's Marshall. Ford CEO Jim Farley last week during an earnings call also discussed a low-cost EV platform the Dearborn automaker has been developing for the past 2 years in hopes of having the flexibility to offer affordable options. Jaja declined to detail timing on that, but says the goal is a sticker tag in the $25,000 to $30,000 range. With the $7,500 federal subsidy, that would bring the total price closer to 20 grand. And says, we look at the market and you look at the scale that's required and the installed base that you get with the smaller vehicles, which are going to be where the fastest growth and adoption of EVs will be, he said. And we need an affordable vehicle platform to be able to compete. In addition to EV affordability, the industry also is seeing hesitation because of insufficient public chargers, charging speeds, and grid reliability concerns. And Bernstein analysts Tony said that based on the adoption curve of other technologies historically, hitting 1% population adoption is when there begins to be a faster uptake rate. Typically, what you need is some combination of a responsible or reasonable price point and advanced functionality. And what we've observed is in a new product's evolution, once a product is sort of efficient or sufficiently attractive on a price and feature set, that it commands 1% penetration. Going from 1% to 80% happens really quickly. It's an interesting take, and I would relate this to content creation, titles and thumbnails, and the likelihood of going from 1% to 80% in regards to percentage of views and virality. But you just never know what is going to catch on. You don't know, or when, or how fast, or how soon, or if it's going to be received and accepted or received and rejected. Jaja said, given the capital investment required for vehicles and based on results in other countries, he believes for EVs that the tipping point is closer to 10% of new vehicle sales, though that still represents a drop in the bucket compared with total vehicles on the road. The adoption also depends on region. The San Francisco Bay Area adoption is around 40%, while North Dakota's is 1%. Good reason. There's not a magic number, and if you look across the geographies, he said, but I personally feel like at 10%, you're hitting critical mass where people are like, oh, I see these charging stations. There are enough people buying. There are enough people buying. So they're trying to hold out to build the charging stations based on people buying. If I'm reading this correctly, that's an interesting model to go after there. Maybe also, just honest opinion, the Ford Model E chief operating officer and everyone else involved is trying to save their ass and keep their jobs. And they're going to kick this can down the road as long as they can and try and keep some sort of positive outlook, glass half full scenario, while lighting a fire to try and rush and beat China to this, to the finish line, or else they're going to get shit canned. What do you guys think?